welcome to English for Today audiobook series. In this video, we'll dive into Unit 2 of the brand new English first paper for HSC 2026. This audiobook is designed to help you master pronunciation and boost your confidence. To get the most out of it, grab your book and read aloud with me. Let's make learning fun and effective. Ready? Let's get started. Good luck! Unit 2, Art and Craft. Lesson 1. What is beauty? Beauty is easy to appreciate but difficult to define. As we look around, we discover beauty in pleasurable objects and sights, in nature, in the laughter of children, in the kindness of strangers. But when asked to define it, we run into difficulties. Does beauty have an independent, objective identity? Is it universal, or is it shaped by individual perceptions? Does it truly lie in the eye of the beholder? We ask ourselves. Throughout history, poets and artists have described beauty in different ways. Poets make use of words to paint images of beauty, while artists create representations of beauty using their creative faculties. Here are two poems that explore the theme of beauty. While Lord Byron, 1788 to 1824, finds perfect beauty in a woman he idealizes, Emily Dickinson, 1830 to 1886, asserts that beauty is inseparable from truth. Read the poems and complete the activities that follow. She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright, meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear their dwelling place, and on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. I Died for Beauty by Emily Dickinson. I died for beauty, but was scarce, adjusted in the tomb, when one who died for truth was lain. In an adjoining room, he questioned softly why I failed. For beauty, I replied, and I for truth, the two are one. We brethren are, he said. And so, as kinsmen met a night, we talked between the rooms, until the moss had reached our lips, and covered up our names. Lesson 2. Folk Music. Here is an excerpt from an article on Bengali folk music written by the late Mridul Kanti Chakravarti, published in Banglapedia, published by the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh. The excerpt has been slightly edited for this textbook. Read the excerpt and answer the questions that follow. Folk music consists of songs and music of a community that are not influenced by any sophisticated musical rules or any standard musical styles. Bangladesh has a heritage of rich folk music which includes both religious and secular songs. Folk music may be described as the music of the ancient times that sprang from the heart of a community, based on their natural style of expression uninfluenced by the rules of classical music or modern popular songs. Any arrangement of sound created by the combination of tune, voice, and instrument/dance may be described as music. Folk music is the combination of song, tune, and dance that originate from the traditional culture of ordinary people, the folk. For example, Baul songs are a combination of tune, music, and dance that are associated with the Baul tradition in Bengal. Folk music has the following characteristics. 1. It is composed by rural folk on the basis of ancient rules transmitted orally. 2. These ancient rules of music have not been influenced by classical or modern music. 3. Folk songs may be sung in groups or individually. 4. No regular practice is required for folk music. 5. It is composed and performed by illiterate or semi-literate people. 6. It is a spontaneous expression of feelings and thoughts in easy language, local dialect, and simple tune. 7. Both words and tune are appealing. 8. Despite its universal appeal, it uses local dialect. 9. It depends upon nature and the rural environment. 10. It is an explicit manifestation of the joys and sorrows of daily life. 11. It uses simple and natural rhythms. 12. It contains a strong emotive expression of human love and separation. In Bangladesh, folk music has great variety, with songs composed on culture, festivals, views of life, natural beauty, rivers, and rural and riverine life. These songs are also about social inequality and poverty, about the material world and the supernatural. Mystical songs have been composed using the metaphors of rivers and boats. Since the country is basically riverine, the Badiali forms an important genre of folk music. Nature plays a role in providing the content and rhythm of folk music. The folk music of Bangladesh varies from region to region, reflecting changes in the natural environment and the dialects people use. Thus, there are the northern Bawaya, the eastern Badiali, and the southwestern Baul songs. The culture and the lifestyle of the different ethnic minorities, such as the Chakmas, Manipuris, Santals, or Tripuris, have also influenced folk music. Their interaction with Bengali culture and lifestyle over the years has been clearly reflected in the richness of our folk music. Folk songs may be sung individually or in chorus. Folk songs sung individually include Baul, Badiali, Murshidi, and Marfadi, while songs sung in chorus include Kabigan, Leto, Alkap, and Gambira. Some songs are regional in character, but others are common to both Bangladesh and West Bengal. Similarly, some songs belong distinctively to one religious community, the Hindus or the Muslims, others cross religious boundaries. Some songs belong exclusively to men, others to women, while some are sung by both men and women. Thus, only women compose and sing Bradigan and Miley Git, but both men and women participate in the old practice of roof-beating songs that are sung while beating down and firming rooftops. F. Read the text below and answer the questions that follow. Lalan Shah. Lalan Shah, 1774 to 1890, is best known as an icon of the Baul tradition in Bengal. Although he was also a philosopher, thinker, and social reformer, he preached religious tolerance and rejected social differences based on class, caste, and creed. He also believed that a search for truth should begin with the body, which reflects the mystery of creation. Lalan Shah. Although Lalan songs are admired for the profound philosophical and mystical insights they offer, he did not receive any formal education. Not much is known about his early life. A popular story about him, which many believe to be true, is that while on a pilgrimage to a holy place, Lalan, who was born a Hindu, contracted smallpox and was abandoned by his companions. A Muslim fakir, Suraj Sain, picked him up and took him to his own house where he nursed him back to health. When Lalan returned home, his family refused to take him in as he had lived in a Muslim household. So Lalan returned to Suraj Sain and took up a life of devotion and asceticism under his guidance. After the death of Sainji, Lalan set up an akhara or monastery in Churia near Kushtia. It soon attracted admirers and mystics in search of salvation who became initiated into Baul asceticism and became his disciples. As Lalan began writing and composing songs, which his disciples sang with the accompaniment of ektara or tara, his fame spread to faraway places. Rabindranath Tagore and Qazi Nazrul Islam were among those who admired him and were influenced by his Shahajiya philosophy, the attainment of the self through the simple truths that reside in one's own body and soul not outside, which can be reached through sadhana or meditation. Many of his disciples also became famous for their songs. They included Kangal Haranath Majumdar, Pagla Kanai, and Dudu Shah. I read the following song by Robert Burns. This is sung all over the world on December 31st, bidding goodbye to the old and welcoming in the new year. Try to guess the meaning of the text. Auld Lang Syne. Robert Burns. Based on folk song from Scotland. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne? Chorus. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. And surely you'll buy your pint cup, and surely I'll buy mine, and we'll take a cup, oh, kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. We too have run about the slopes and picked the daisies fine, but we've wandered many a weary foot since Auld Lang Syne. We too have paddled in the stream, from morning sun till dine, but seas between us broad have roared since auld lang syne. And there's a hand, my trusty friend, and give me a hand, o' thine, and we'll take a right goodwill draft for auld lang syne. Lesson 3. Art. Art is generally understood as an expression of human imagination and creative skills in a range of activities including painting, drawing, sculpture, and architecture. The aim of art is to evoke feelings and emotions that are considered aesthetic, that is, concerned with beauty, but art also can be a form of social commentary. A painting of sunset over the sea glorifies nature, but one that shows a war-ravaged town can convey a sense of anguish. Throughout the world, people appreciate art for its power to affect them in creative ways. As the famous painter Pablo Picasso said, "The purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off our souls." Art in our country has a long history. It has been practiced in households in the form of pottery, nakshikantha or embroidered quilt, alpana or intricate, mostly floral designs in rice paste done on clay yards and shoker harhai, or painted earthen pots, and their lids. These are examples of folk art. But there is another form of art, which is called modern art, which owes its origin to the Industrial Revolution in Western Europe in the middle of the 19th century and the changes it brought in technology, education, manufacturing, and communication. Modern art rejected traditional art forms and began to create new types of artistic expression using styles, techniques, colors, and materials that could adequately reflect the spirit of the time and the profound changes in human thought. The beginning of modern art practices in our country date from 1948, when the great artist Zainul Abidin, 1914 to 1976, with the help of some colleagues, set up an Institute of Art in Dhaka, now the Faculty of Fine Art, University of Dhaka. As it began to offer art education, the institute drew together a number of talented teachers and students who contributed to the development of modern art almost from scratch. But within a decade, artists were reflecting most recent trends and styles in their work, such as expressionism and abstract expressionism, while maintaining a close contact with the traditions of folk art. Zainul had earned All India fame for his famine sketches, a series of haunting sketches based on the Bengal famine of 1943, which took hundreds of thousands of lives. His watercolors, scroll paintings, and drawings inspire our artists even today. The other prominent artists who had major contributions to the spectacular rise of our contemporary art include Kamral Hassan, S.M. Sultan, Saifuddin Ahmed, Abdur Razak, Qayyum Chowdhury, Murtaza Baisur, Aminul Islam, Syed Jahangir, Devdas Chakravarti, Navra Ahmed, and Muhammad Kibriya. The War of Liberation and the independence of the country in 1971 inspired our artists to continue the efforts of the earlier artists to explore the limits of art and create new expressive modes. For the next 4 decades, art in our country saw many experimentations. Artists dealt with new ideas such as installation art and graphic art, and reshaped older, traditional art forms. If you visit any art gallery or art exhibition, you will find how our art reflects our changing realities in fascinating and insightful ways. S.M. Sultan. Sheikh Mohammed Sultan, widely known as S.M. Sultan, was a distinguished Bangladeshi painter renowned for his distinctive personal and artistic style. Born on August 1923 in Jessore, Bangladesh, Sultan is often remembered as a bohemian artist who traveled extensively despite his unique vision. He only achieved widespread recognition later in life. His work was first showcased in Dhaka in 1976, and a significant retrospective organized by the Goethe Institute, Dhaka in 1987, solidified his status as a major artist. Despite coming from an underprivileged background, S.M. Sultan made his mark in the art world through sheer passion and his ability to build enduring connections. Although his family could not afford his education at the Calcutta School of Arts, he received a special recommendation that allowed him to study there for 3 years. His very simple but highly philosophic art, which features nature and the people of Bangladesh, has become the prime source of inspiration for the new generation of painters. Sultan's characters were farmers, rural women, children, animals, and even pets. The main feature of his paintings is the muscular farmers, with extensive muscles and godly physical stature, which make his farmers larger than life. Sultan took little care of his finished works, and many are lost. He was unconcerned about using materials that would preserve Sultan's song, was never about a legacy of artwork, but of ideas. Apart from being awarded prestigious awards, accolades, and being featured in top art institutions, Sultan received wide press coverage and laudatory critical reviews in renowned newspapers like the New York Times, Washington Post, The Telegraph, The Times, The Guardian, Le Monde, and many more. He became internationally acclaimed as a great painter of classic dimensions. Sultan received the Akushi Padak, Swadhanata Padak, Bangladesh Charu, Shilpi Sangsad Padak, and other prestigious awards. Navra Ahmed. Navra Ahmed was the pioneer of modern sculpting in Bangladesh. She is also one of the most under- and misrepresented artists in the country. When describing the works of the first modern Bangladeshi sculptor Navra Ahmed, Shilpakarja Zainul Abidin proclaimed, "What Navra is doing now will take us a long time to understand. She is that kind of artist." This aptly describes her progressive thoughts in the field of sculpture. Navra Ahmed was born in a culturally inclined family in Chittagong, where she was inspired by her mother's skills in making dolls' houses out of clay and became fascinated with working with three-dimensional forms. As Ahmed was educated in London and Florence, her sculptural vocabulary was based on a combination of Western ideas and folk traditions. Many of her artifacts were based on village lives and folk motifs, of which she was a keen observer. She also incorporated Buddhist themes in her works and developed an individual style that depicted the experiences of women. In August 1960, Navra Ahmed had her first solo exhibition organized on the ground floor of Central Public Library, now Dhaka University Library. It was the first ever solo sculpture exhibition by any sculptor of Bangladesh, East Pakistan back then. It was inaugurated by General Azam Khan of the Pakistan Army, who was so impressed with her work that he gave her a grant of 10,000 Bangladeshi takas to promote sculpture as an art form. She used cement, wood, plaster, and stone for the material for her sculptures. In the early 1960s, upon the Pakistan Art Council's invitation, she moved to West Pakistan and produced many works there. In 1962, she traveled to Bombay to learn Bharatanatyam, and a year later moved to Paris, where she remained for the rest of her life. She lived in Thailand from 1968 to 1970 and had her second solo exhibition in Bangkok's Alliance Francaise in 1970. At that time, she was using remains from plane crashes of American airplanes from the Vietnam War. Navra Ahmed was one of the original designers of the Shahid Minar, in which she collaborated with Hamida Rahman. She was awarded the Akushi Padak in 1997 in absentia, and an exhibition was arranged from her works left behind in Dhaka in April-May 1998. Lesson 4: Craft. While art is considered intuitive and visionary, craft is seen to be a practical application of certain skills for producing objects of everyday use that are often beautiful to look at, such as pottery, metal and woodwork, cane and bamboo items, jewelry, musical instruments like ektora, dal or flute, and textile items. People who practice a craft are called craftspersons or artisans who pick up their skills under the guidance of older and more experienced artisans. The training they receive is thus on the job, and artisans often come from the same family. Bangladesh has a rich tradition of craft, as the country has been, until very recently, dependent on agriculture, and most people lived in villages. Rural communities relied on artisans to supply them with necessary household items. But communities also needed objects to help them with social occasions such as weddings, religious rituals, festivals, and personal use. They also needed items for use in trade and commerce. Craftworks thus range from winnowing baskets to clay oil lamps, from handheld fans to metal coins. As artisans worked with their hands to produce domestic and decorative objects, these came to be known as handicrafts. An artwork bears the signature of its creator, and the value of a painting, graphic art, or sculpture depends on the stature of the artist. No such thing happens in case of craftwork. The maker of a terracotta doll or a shatranji, cotton floor mat, remains anonymous, but the work retains a